My name is Kaitlyn Killgo. I'm 36 years old, and I'm suing Washi PD for warrantless arrest through the wanted system and for conspiring to take away my civil rights and deprive me of my liberties. I've been protesting for Palestine for several years, but especially very heavily the last 6 months. And on that day, it was one of the biggest protests that we had had. It was absolutely beautiful to see people coming together for humanity. We walked onto campus and, we began the encampment. That's when the violence started. Washi wanted to paint some picture that, we were being belligerent and violent, and the only harm that was really caused that day was by the police and by the people whose orders they were following. And it was really disappointed because we had, the president of the board of aldermen, we had several other aldermen, other professors from the school, all trying to talk down administration and trying to talk them down to get them to avoid using police violence, to avoid using state-sanctioned violence against us. And all of that was for naught. And they started coming in waves and just grabbing a few people at a time. And that's when things got really scary. Multiple people being tackled to the ground. Most people had 4, 5, or 6 officers that were being tackled. I saw an officer had to been about 250, maybe 300 pounds, like a bigger guy. This man was on the ground, completely defenseless, in cuffs. And this man drove his knee with the full weight of his body into his side. And they had broken 9 of his ribs. September, it was Labor Day weekend, and we had driven out to Eureka. I had just gotten off the highway. I noticed there was a police officer, had been arrested before at this point from the WashU arrest. And there's always a general level of anxiety around the police because I know that the violence that they can cause, that's when his lights go on. And so I immediately pull over. Your license plate came back with a wanted on it. And at first I'm thinking, what is this, some Wild Wild West BS? Wanted? I know about warrants, but a wanted, what is that? After 40 minutes, he comes back. He informs me that WashU PD has a wanted for me and that they want to talk to me and they want to question me. And he was like, but, you're going to have to come to our station and sit down and wait for, what the detectives are on their way from the city and they're going to be coming out here. I was like, am I being detained? And he goes, yes. He's like, I need you to exit the vehicle. And I'm like, why can't I just meet you over there? And he's like, no, I need you to exit the vehicle. And he opens my door. He's got a gun. I know he has a taser. I know he has mace. I know he has a baton. I know he has all these things. So, what else am I to do? I've seen videos of police ripping people out of their car through their windows. So, what else do I have other than to comply? Even when I know my rights are being violated. He grabs my arm and I'm like, you don't need to put handcuffs on me. I'm going to go with you. And he was like, no, actually I do. And so he cuffs me and I'm like, am I under arrest? He goes, no, we're just detaining you for questioning. And I'm like, and I didn't say it, but in my mind I'm thinking, it sure feels like I'm being arrested. It was terrifying, because I have no control over my own body at that point. I can't do anything. They took me to the station, and in the meantime, that 30-minute period before he came back to the car, I was able to notify some people that I knew would be able to get a lawyer. Most people don't have that. And that really brings me to eventually why I'm going through this lawsuit, is because most people don't have the knowledge of the rights that I do and don't have access to immediate legal help. And so I fortunately was able to have someone contact a lawyer for me, and over the course of more than 4 hours while I was in a jail cell, there was a lawyer speaking to the police on my behalf. They were able to get me released that evening. Essentially what I learned after the fact about wanteds, because I didn't even know these existed, is, to my knowledge, in order to arrest someone, you have to have probable cause, or it can come in the form of a judge issues a warrant. They were able to take my presence on campus that day and near campus that day in my vehicle and jot down my license plate number as if we cross paths with the person driving this vehicle, we want to talk to them. But when they came across my path, I was 45 minutes away in a completely different town with an officer that had no idea why he was arresting me. Learning about the wanted system probably has destroyed most of my faith in whatever justice system I thought we had, because that's not justice. Potentially having a wanted out, even having listened to the officer on the phone at one point, say, that they were going to leave a wanted out. And if they happened to run across me again, they could have taken me again. And I mean, it's been over a year now at this point. And I would say that there's not a time in my car that doesn't go by I'm not, anytime a police officer is near me, I'm like, what if my plate is the plate they decide to type in their computer? And the whole process happens all over again. Constant anxiety anytime I see any police car, and like having to avoid particular areas. Like, I don't go by Wash U anymore. I know I'm not like allowed on their campus after a year, probably am now, but like, I don't want to go there. I don't want to be anywhere near there. I don't even drive down Skinker anymore. I try to take other weird ways to get to the Loop if I'm going to go up that way. Just like it's a anxious fear in the back of my mind all the time. Like, because I have no way to check. Like, there's no public access to the wanted system. We can't see anybody who's listed on it or what for. It's not like a warrant with actual, probable cause. Almost nowhere else in the country uses wanteds in the way that the St. Louis and surrounding cities and municipalities use it. How many people are sitting in jail right now on something that they never should have been in the first place because the police had no evidence or no connection to detain this person? And then they slapped handcuffs on him. The person got scared, didn't know their rights, and didn't know what to do. And now their life is ruined. If anything, this has given me more reason to continue to protest against state violence and against the harmful, abusive system that we live under. In other ways, it definitely has tampered me. It's definitely made me a little bit more cautious about some of the things that I do. Knowing that their intention of instilling this fear in me and in others fuels me to do this, to sue them, to fight back in whatever ways and whatever channels that we have, because it is unjust, because it is unfair, and it is immoral. And if we have to go through these processes to make these things illegal, then we'll do that. And I will do that, and I'll continue to fight, because when I lose my fear, they lose their power. Having ACD represent me has been really fantastic. Everyone I've had a chance to work with there has been so kind and so knowledgeable and very thorough. I wish we could just replicate the ACD lawyers to every law firm. Like, if all lawyers were like Maureen and Ebony, like, so many more people would be safe. So much care about not only me and my situation. They helped me to feel really individualized, that they were standing up for me and helping protect me, but also like knowing that my case represents so many other people. I can see their passion for what they're doing, and I'm really grateful for that. What I really hope comes from this lawsuit is change, because the frustrating thing to me is that when the government, or when powers that be, people in power, landowners, property owners, and business owners, and CEOs, and whatever, when they have an issue, they sick the police on people, right? And they have a way to charge us. But as normal, average citizens without a lot of power, in that system, we have no recourse to pursue criminal charges. Because in my mind, I've been kidnapped. They haven't charged me with anything, so therefore in my mind, they have no legal reason to detain me and take away my rights, right? So I've been kidnapped multiple times by the police, and kidnapping is illegal, yet I have no way other than this lawsuit to get my rights back. And it saddens me, because in the court's eyes, what that comes down to is money. It comes down to, they're going to negotiate back and forth on a financial figure, and whatever that figure is, I don't care. Ultimately, I want it to go all back into criminal representation and defense for people that really need it. And so none of that money is going to stay in my pocket, no matter how much it is. What I really hope comes from this is change. And if it means that they have to pay a lot of money to realize how badly they need to change the system, so be it. These wanteds have to go away. So I really hope that this is the final nail in the coffin for that evil system and getting rid of the wanteds once and for all.